You know who I am? Oh. You haven't remembered that part yet. You know, your husband died right where you're standing.
From season 4, episode 8 just dropped, and I think it's setting us up for one of the craziest endings in this show's history. We have learned a lot of things in this episode, and if you have missed some of them, I'm going to break it all down for you. This is from episode 8, Epic Breakdown, The Man in Yellow. Now, this part I did not see coming whatsoever. After Sophia goes into Boyd's office looking around, we find out that what she's looking for is the man in yellow suit, and she eventually does find that suit. After she finds the suit, we see her then go into Tabitha's house, and while she's in Tabitha's house, we see that she finds the drawings that Ethan has drawn of his family in order to remember them in case he gets stuck out here by himself. But we have no idea what she plans to do with them. After this, Tabitha then receives a phone call, and on this phone call it said, "Come to the RV or I will hurt your family." Tabitha then eventually goes to the RV, and there we see the man in yellow. And I have no idea how much I missed Doug Hugh playing this character until I actually got a chance to see him actually flesh out some stuff. So what we learned from here is that Doug Hugh, the man in yellow, is the person who has been on the phone call with Jim pretending to be Thomas from the beginning. And we know he was also the one that was on the radio with Jim. So when we hear the man in yellow say to Tabitha,
Jim was so brave. I really liked him. I kept one of his teeth, you know.
It must mean that this interaction that he had with Jim, he had pleasure with him on the phone and on the radio, just getting on his nerves. He must enjoy that. And since when he was on the phone with Ethan and he told him that his mother would be arriving in an ambulance, that means the man in yellow either is the one who controls people coming in, or he knows exactly who is going to come in because he's working for the people who control coming in. And the whole ploy with Tabitha inside of there, and the reason why they did not kill her and offered to take Randall instead, was all his plan. He instructed the monsters to do that. He had no intention of having Tabitha hurt.
You know who I am? Oh. You haven't remembered that part yet.
So when he says you don't remember that part yet, we're going to see her remember it when we see the full thing of Miranda pulling up from the car. We know that outside there is going to be Sophia, but she had to have some particular interaction with this man while she was Miranda back in the day, and that's what she's going to remember. Unless it's something outside of the place, because we know that Miranda did see the man in yellow before she entered the place, and she painted a picture of him, and he did not look like he looked right now. In fact, he looked like a regular guy. But we have also seen the monsters come and look like regular people and then go to their real form. Then the man in yellow brings up that they have played this game many a times, and that her and Jade are like the closest friends he's ever had. And he also brings up that he's not there to kill her, at least not yet. He wants to see how things play out. He says because they're about to do something that they haven't done in a long time. And then the next line he says is basically a lie, saying, "Oh, you get those bones and you might be close to bringing those children home, or your children home." And then he smiles and says, "Or you're about to release the biggest suffering of them all." And I think the second part is the truth of what he's speaking, and he wants them to go down there and attempt to get those bones, because those bones have nothing to do with anything, and saving the children has nothing to do with them getting home in the long run.
This was really nice. have missed you. I'll see you soon.
Now, the kissing of Tabitha's hand has to mean something more than just a little bit of friendship. Even though he said he considers her to be one of her closest friends, it does seem human. It does seem, I would say, something a romantic human would do to somebody when you kiss a woman on her hand. We have heard him say, "You don't remember who I am." So what could be the connection between them? And it could be a situation where we know that Jade is supposed to be Christopher and they're supposed to have lovers, Tabitha, all the way from generations ago. But is this guy a jilted lover? Is he someone who wanted to be with the original Tabitha back then and could not get with them because of Jade, and he's the one who set this plan in motion because of it? We know there's a casting for a colonial woman that we have not seen yet in this show. And it could just be staged as colonial woman because this could be the original Miranda Tabitha person. And we could get that storyline with Julie story walking and she finds out that this is who he is. Or he was actually married to her and she left him for Jade's character. On the left-hand side, we can see a couple of pictures that Ethan has drawn. The one on top is Father Khatri, and the one on the bottom is Nathan. Now, why would Ethan want to remember these two people? Father Khatri, we could see him wanting to remember him because he was a nice guy, but Nathan is really interesting, and it's interesting that they staged them one on top of the other. We know Nathan is the cause of the Circadian monsters. That's what he was afraid of, and that's why they were manifested in this place, or so we were told that's the case. And we know that Father Khatri is somebody who comes back and talks to Boyd, and we'll get to that in a sec. After Henry doesn't decide to be an alcoholic anymore, or he just wants to take a break from a little while, he goes to Bata, and Bata gives him a job inside of the diner so he can keep his mind busy, kind of like Acosta's doing. After this, we also see Sarah. She's there and she's going through some of the stuff. We can see that there's a boat on the right hand side of her, and we can also see the lady is trying to hand her a bunch of watches from other people that we've seen in this show. Now, the watches are a little bit interesting because to me it suggests that FROMville functions on a completely different electromagnetic or sonic frequency than the real world. This anomaly disrupts standard mechanics and battery-operated quartz movement, rendering them traditionally useless. And we get further proof of my theory being correct in this case because it's when Bata drops something and it's that sound that he hears, Henry, that makes him go into his vision. When Henry awakes this time and Victor comes in the room, we could see that the clock that's on his wall is the exact same clock that he has in his house when he meets Tabitha. And the picture on the wall is the exact same picture he has on the house when he meets Tabitha. The wall's paint is yellow because we know Sophia dripped her blood into a drink and he drank it, and that is the reason why he is getting these visions. The jukebox comes on and it plays Miranda's favorite song. This is the same song that Henry had playing in the car where he said it was stuck in the car when he got into the car with Tabitha. Now, does this mean that the man in yellow is responsible for all the trolling and everything else that we heard come out of this radio? It would seem like it is, but there is a good chance that it's not. Now, from season 1, I've told you I've been on this theory, my theory that I made up since then, that somebody was captured in here. The man in yellow was being held prisoner in here, and he could just want to escape out of this place. We know this because when we heard the song that came on, it said we have to get out of here. But when Sarah talks about it, she says that it's multiple people that are trapped in there and that they're just like them.
Someone who could help them.
Help them do what?
Help them escape. Help them go home. They said they were just like us.
But why? Why did you believe them?
Because they told me things. Things they couldn't know. They told me those 2 cars were coming. And to stand out near the edge of town, and I would see. They said it happened before. That 2 cars came on the same day, and everyone died. They said it was because of the people in the cars, but if I did what they said, then we'd be safe.
So we just talked about how the man in yellow knew that Tabitha was the one coming in on the ambulance. So he would know to tell Sarah to go outside, that there are 2 cars coming in. But again, she did say them, help them go home, help them escape. So there's either multiple people like the man in yellow that are captured and he's the only one that we see, or it's a possibility that it's the monsters themselves that want to go home and want to escape this place, because we know that they were human too, and Sarah says they were just like them. But if I had to pick, gun to my head, I would say that this has more to do with the man in yellow than those monsters. But we can get into that in a different video. Back to Henry. After that first vision, he then goes over to Eloise's grave. When we look at Eloise's grave, her rock that's on it, we can see that there's a rainbow on it. Now, rainbows universally symbolize hope, renewal, and positivity. Because they appear after a storm, they are a powerful metaphor for better days ahead and a triumph over light and darkness. And once again, a sound comes, and this sound triggers Henry to go right back into this vision. Now, I don't believe that this is just a standard vision. I do believe that this is a look into the parallel universe. When doing Fringe, the showrunners of this show often use sounds in order for people to access parallel dimensions. And we have seen it multiple times this episode with Henry. Henry is also introduced to his grandchild, whose name is Sebastian. Sebastian means worthy of respect and revered. He is then told that Eloise is on her way and that she's a school teacher. And the reason why he is in this condition is because of that acid hit that he took with his wife, but it went bad for him. And because of that, he's been in this place ever since, which is a home type situation. But the doctor tells him straight up that in order for him to get out of this, he is going to have to drop the anchor. Whatever the anchor is that's holding him to where he is, he needs to eliminate that anchor. So the only anchor that could be is Victor. So they're trying to get him to kill Victor. I don't know if he's going to go through with it or if he's going to try to kill Victor. I don't think it's possible for him to do that. Now let me address this nurse real quick, because the nurse does look exactly like the ballerina monster. Now, it is not the same actress who plays this nurse. It's also not the same actress who plays Miranda that we just seen in the car and the original Miranda. There are times that when you can't get the same person, you get someone who looks just like him. And I do believe that this person is meant to represent the ballerina monster. We also see the ballerina figurine in the diner while Henry is there. Now, if it's the blood that got Henry to act this way, then we have to assume that the same exact thing happened to Abby. That this is the case and what made her go crazy. Ellis says to Boyd that he's not spending enough time with her and something's going on with her. Boyd disregards this and goes back into the forest and says when he gets back, everything is going to be okay. But it's at this time where he gets lost out there. And while he's lost out there, by the time he makes it back after he finds the talismans, this is what allows Abby to go on this rampage, thinking that she needs to wake everybody up from this dream. We have seen Sophia say multiple times that what if this is all a dream? What if Abby's right? So therefore, the man in yellow had to be in town at this time when this went down. And most likely it wasn't a main character that he took the form of, because we see in the Sophia thing that he likes to take somebody on the low that nobody would suspect. So he's probably just a regular person walking around who got his blood into Abby. In this, we see that the title of the episode is All on Boyd. He is wearing the crown, and he's the one with the heavy head. Jade does not have the same responsibilities as Boyd, as when Kenny calls him out and says, "Are you going to be the one going in them tunnels?" And obviously, Jade was not going to be in them tunnels, because Jade just wants Boyd to follow through with the plan he came up with, and somebody is going to die. Yes, it doesn't matter as long as certain people can make it home. That's his philosophy behind it. But Boyd is like, I'm not sending anybody into anything unless we have a plan B. I think he still has some flashbacks for what happened to Kenny, and he's not trying to have that happen to him whatsoever again at this time. So when he goes and he thinks of this plan, the first thing I look at when I look at the table is that when I see all these tunnels, they remind me of wormholes. And that's what I think we're dealing with when we deal with the faraway tree. And then Jade's plan is to chop down the faraway tree because he remembers looking up and seeing that the roots were there and it was creating a skylight at that time. So he wants to chop the faraway tree down, and then this will give them access to go down there, grab the people up from the down far away tree, and that's how he's going to save them. Now, we know that the last episode is called When a Tree Falls in the Forest, so we know that the tree is going to fall. They're going to chop down this far away tree. But how is this a good thing when the boy in white specifically told Victor not to chop down the far away tree? Remember, Jade always dies the same way. First, the town finds out about him, then the town hates him. And I think that he has influenced Boyd to the point where Boyd will go through with this plan. But this plan will be devastating. Now, Boyd also gets some visions in here, visions of all of the main cast members dead. And it looks like they are shot dead. Now, this could either be because of what Jade did, or it could be Henry going crazy and shooting people. We have no idea. But he has been having flashes of Abby shooting. He keeps hearing it in his head, the shots that he has fired. And he tries to tell Christy about it, and he tries to get some medicine to cope with this whole situation. But in the end, there is no medicine to cope with this whole situation. He just has to grunt and bear through this whole situation. The Man in Yellow's master plan. The Man in Yellow's plan, I think, is a very simple one. We hear him tell Tabitha straight up that if it doesn't go well, they will unleash a new type of horror that was never unleashed before. We know the boy in white told Victor specifically not to chop down the faraway tree by any means. Do not do that. His plan is to allow Jade and Boyd to chop down the far away tree. That's what he wants them to do. That's why he fed Jade this information, and that's why he's controlling Father Khatri to influence Boyd to chop down the far away tree. That far away tree is the only thing keeping him locked in this place. And once that tree goes down, I believe it will unleash him from this place and he will be set free. And that's what he ultimately wants. After giving birth to a monster, Fatima is now becoming one herself. Now, I thought that they would go this route without the birth thing. Who could have predicted that birth thing? But I thought that that's what they were going with, and they seem to have postponed it, but now are going with it right now. When they look at Fatima, they can see what they call varicose veins in her stomach, and that's what they would naturally say, but they say because this place is this place, that it's most likely they can't tell what it is. But when we see the monsters in their true form sleeping, the number one thing we can see on them is varicose veins, especially all over the lady's legs, which is weird to me because you have to have some type of blood, but that's just a different situation. We hear that from her blood pressure, her heart rate, that she's basically already dead. So it's done for Fatima. That's just what it is. It's a done deal. Now it comes a time where she can do some good before she goes. And Marielle understands this and says, hey, we can use what you learned from your Kenny and Smile Monster experience. After she tells Boyd and Kenny, and she tells everyone about that. But Ellis once again steps up and says, how could you think this is a good thing? We see Marielle and Christy get into a fight over it, but it is 100% a good thing, because what's happening to her, it's what's happening to her. That's a done deal. There's no reversing it. There's no coming back from it. This is who she's going to be. I can see her next season being one of the monsters tapping on the window, smiling at people. But before that happens, she might be able to help a little bit. Now, we also know that there is a way that she could see through them, and maybe she can use them as a security system to know where they're coming. But what I think they could do in the end, if they're able to wrap this whole thing up with the man in yellow, is if she can take control of this one monster, maybe she can control them all and have them attack the man in yellow, and that's how they get rid of the man in yellow in the end. You let me know what you think about that in the comments. Victor and Ethan's storyline, I think, is the last that we have to cover. We see Victor drawing a picture of the man in yellow. We see that there are teeth. He has the whole bag of teeth with him, and they're on the picture. So we know that this is the man in yellow, and he's doing something to somebody. Then Tabitha comes in with Ethan, and after a little conversation, she agrees to let Victor show Ethan the ropes. Now, he says there are 3 things that you have to do. Obviously, you got to eat, right? You got to preoccupy your mind. You can't get lonely. This is when we see him bring in the dolls that he has, one of his sister and one supposedly of his mother. Now, the third thing they do not mention, they don't bring it up, and I think it's very curious that they don't bring up what the exact third thing is. We know that the monsters have told Victor before that if he comes down here, that they would keep him. So I think it's a deal is what it's going to be. You're going to have to make a deal with some of the monsters or somebody in there, either to deliver people to him, to help them kill people. Something like that is going on, because it's impossible for him to have survived all that time and not being taken out by this monster unless he had a deal with them. And that's what I do believe. He came up with a deal to feed people to them and allow them to kill them. Whether he pulled a Sarah and he left the door open, but he did something to allow people to get killed. And that's what the real trauma that he's going through is the guilt that he has done to people like that. That's what I believe has happened. I'm going to wrap this up here. I have a lot more to say, but because this video is so long, I don't want it to go too long. People don't want to watch it if it's too long. So let me stop right here. If you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.